Um, Hello, uh, viewers. My name is Bwembya. I'm the senior instructor in the field of truck driving. I'm also an author of a book entitled Advanced Principles of Professional International Truck Driving. Now, I want to talk to you something about mountain driving. You know, if you're a truck driver and you've not driven in mountains, it means you are still learning. Why is driving on the mountains difficult? The answer is simple. You have to know to climb and descend. Now, driving through mountains and desert can offer challenges to your patience, energy, skill. The reason why you have to pay special attention to speed limit and warning signs in these areas. Now, you have to watch the special features, your gauges, especially driving across mountains or hills, presents more problems and special situations than driving in flat areas. So you constantly must consider the effects of gravity, because when you are driving through the mountains, gravity matters. It will pull you down and causing the truck to peak speed when traveling downhill. Gravity also slows a truck's forward motion when it's traveling uphill. So mountain roads often zigzag across the face of the mountain through a series of sharp curves and turns. In a very sharp turn, sometimes you go through the places called switchback. So the road bends back in the opposite direction. Now, special problems to inevitably face when driving across the mountains are natural laws. Which natural laws are we talking about? Gravity, weather, effects of altitude. When it comes to altitudes, both the truck and the driver can be affected in the following ways. First of all, in high altitudes, situations can cause shortness of breath. I'm sure some of you have seen when you are driving through the mountains, you just feel like you're not breathing enough. Why is it so? Sometimes you find your heartbeat is faster. Sometimes you experience headache. Sometimes you find yourself experiencing a reduction in concentration on driving. And sometimes you find yourself dozing. Such effects become even worse for fatigued drivers. So a reason to all these effects is due to low oxygen content in the air of mountain environment. Because in high altitudes, the air contains less oxygen, which results into the issue that I've just mentioned. The second reason is that a truck's engine gets affected by altitude as it reduces its climbing pulling power. Acceleration is sluggish, liquids boil and evaporate easily, and that explains why most trucks end up mixing oil with water if a driver doesn't frequently observe the gauges in order to pull over the side of the road and stop to allow the engine to cool down. It is very dangerous for the engine to overheat because it can easily cause what we call vapor lock, which is the condition of a hot engine that causes a gaseous state which cannot be pumped into engine when you shut it off. So the engine may not start because fuel cannot be pumped into the engine gaseous state. So in such situations, you need to allow the engine to cool down and then start it again. The third challenge, the third challenging issue in mountain driving here in Zambia is weather. Rain, early morning fog, mist, or haze. If you are driving in other countries such as some parts of South Africa, you don't rule out snow or ice. It's important to inquire about the weather condition via WhatsApp groups or other media sources. Last time I was driving through Durban to Johannesburg, where somewhere after Pietermaritzburg going towards Harrismith, there was a terrible snow. We had to wait for road to be cleared by the local authorities. So professional truck driving skills application in mountain driving is inevitably important to avoid possible collisions by minimizing the risks involved. Through good practice and knowledgeable personal discipline, especially when driving down the mountain, the force of gravity pulls your truck faster than usual unless you resist it by engaging to the lowest gear. Occasional application of the braking system that should resist gravity. Do not apply brakes steadily in mountains because the power of brakes can fade due to overheating. You need to decrease the engine power by way of downshifting, to lowest gears. If you are braking often, better shift to the lower gear. Keep your speed low enough so that you can stay in your lane. Don't ride the brake pedal. Use light pressure on brakes, to slow down gradually. A reason why you are downshifting is to reduce speed, mountain control of the truck, and save on braking. So you must keep the truck under your control at all times, because a heavy-duty truck like the one you're driving usually experience braking problems when driving down the mountain road. Some mountains, mountain roadways such as the Chirundu road were designed to have an escape or runaway ramp, if you like, depending on what you call it. The ramp provides a place for speeding vehicle to safely stop when brakes are no longer effective. There are also certain situations such as when two vehicles meet on the narrow mountain road where none can safely pass. I've had some truck driver students ask me questions over similar situations, during classroom training sessions. What to do when confronted by such circumstances? The answer is simple. When you are found in such a situation, the vehicle heading down the hill must back up until the driver going uphill can pass, for a simple reason. Because it is more dangerous for a vehicle being driven uphill to go in reverse than it is to drive downhill. So when driving your truck uphill, steady acceleration is necessary to mountain speed to some reasonable position. If the hill is steep, downshift in a truck with a manual transmission. Remember that a high elevation, at high elevation, the amount of power available to the engine might be reduced. Stay to the left lane, sound the horn, and flash lights if you cannot see oncoming traffic, around mountains or caves. Driving up or down the mountains presents special problems. So the roads are caved, sometimes sharp, hill and down steep grades. That is the more reason why you need to use extra care of your skills to be able to control your truck under those conditions. If possible, that an oncoming vehicle can cross into your lane because the driver is going too fast for the curve. The major cause of most collisions in mountain driving is that of driving too fast on curves. Loaded trucks and other heavy-duty vehicles pulling trailers move slowly when driving uphill, up on mountain roads. In such situations, maintain a stable following distance. Follow at their speed, bearing in mind that some vehicles may fail to pull up the mountain and start pulling back. As professional truck driver, always bear in mind that sharp curves, steep grades, and other vehicles limit how much of the roadway ahead you can see at any given time. So the role of gravity in mountain driving is that when you drive uphill, gravity acts to slow your truck. Therefore, in order to maintain speed, you need to engage to low gear and accelerate just before the hill to give your truck extra power. Then you drive downhill, gravity acts with your truck. So as a result, your speed increases. It is for such reasons why you should downshift and apply brakes in order to resist that force of gravity. So gravity, gives objects their weight. The weight of an object, such as your truck, is distributed evenly about a point. This point is called the object's center of gravity. What this means is that the lower an object's center of gravity, the more stable the object. So some trucks are designed to have low center of gravity in order to handle well in turns and during quick maneuvers, like the one I was driving when I was working for a certain transport company in Lusaka. So some good engineering mechanisms saved my life at Kapiringozi along Chirundu Road in southern Zambia. So a truck loaded with heavy goods on top of a light goods on a trailer raises even more of such truck's center of gravity, making it less stable and difficult to control when turning or driving on curves, and especially during sudden changes in braking, acceleration, and direct. Almost all trucks over large vehicles have those problems. So I noticed that most of the drivers across SADC region, and more especially in my native country, Zambia, do not attach the importance of physics in truck driving, when in fact more than 60% of the driving task is composed of pure physics. Don't necessarily blame truck drivers for such attitudes, but the country's lower, truck driving education standard somehow pegged the truck drivers even remuneration to that of an unskilled domestic worker. So if only our country's truck driver education system could be upgraded, it's best all the drivers would be recognized as professionals. So physics, being a scientific study of forces such as heat, light, sound, and others, which relate and explain how they affect the movements of heavy-duty trucks on our roadways across the continent of Africa and beyond. The law of physics is simply a law of natural forces. Unless we understand how these natural forces play on the movement of trucks, we can never explain the causes of many collisions or accidents on our continent. Therefore, natural laws are categorized by early science revolutionaries, can greatly help us understand the machines we drive. My colleagues, natural laws affect stopping distance, braking, steering, and understanding of relationships between those natural laws and our trucks can help us become better and safer professional truck drivers. We cannot shy away from natural laws because these laws of nature affect all vehicles the same way. Yet we, the people, react differently. For instance, you may not stop within the same distance another driver in the same truck will. So the distance your truck takes to stop is its total stopping distance. Perception distance, reaction distance, plus braking distance make up total stopping distance. So a good rule of process to the Dennis OJDA process, defensive scanning rule, which helps us to understand that better. Before you come to a stop, you need to identify why you must stop, why you must come to a stop. So as you judge and decide to stop, that becomes your reaction time, followed by your action time, which is your braking distance. So the Dennis OJDA system takes time as a truck driver go through important stages ranging from observing, judging, and deciding for action, which affects your stopping distance in a way. So how much do natural laws affect your driving, your truck driving? For instance, braking is a result of friction between the tire, the brake linings, and the wheel drums, or wheel discs and pads, if you like. So friction slows the rotation of the wheels and tires and the roadway surface. When you apply brakes on your truck, you are decreasing the truck's momentum and kinetic energy. So how are the four factors generally affect the truck's braking distance? 1, condition of the roadway affects the braking distance because the distance is greater when the friction on the road surface is reduced due to bad weather or in situations where the road surface is unpaved or rough. Then secondly, in hills, mountains, a force of gravity affects the time and space needed to stop a truck when descending down on the steep grade due to the fact that a truck descending down tends to go faster, and that increases the braking distance. The third one is the condition of a truck, which is another factor that can greatly affect the stopping distance. Defective brakes, defective tires, or worn out shock absorbers are potential elements capable to reduce traction by increasing, distance. The fourth one, the other obvious factor is speed. The higher the speed, the longer the braking distance. So apart from gravity, we need to understand that there are other forces such as energy of motion or kinetic energy. In simple terms, the energy an object has as it moves is called energy of motion or kinetic energy. All objects in motion have kinetic energy as well as momentum. This means that the faster the truck moves, the more energy of motion it has. So the truck's energy of motion doubles when its weight doubles. This means that when the truck weighs twice as much, it needs about twice the distance to stop. When driving a truck that never compete with empty trucks, drive your truck and concentrate. So the faster the truck moves, the more energy of motion it has. The truck's energy of motion will change in proportion to the square of its change in speed. So when the truck speed doubles, it needs 4 times the distance. Why do I need to explain the law of physics in professional truck driving? Because a responsible truck driver, once you understand natural law concerning energy of motion, you can adjust your traffic situations ahead of time. My aim is to make you understand the importance of always reducing speed in especially, emergency situations, bearing in mind that every time you reduce your speed in half, you actually cut the truck's energy of motion by 4 times. So, my dear listeners, I'm a researcher, instructor, and author of a book, Advanced Principles of Professional International Truck Driving. I'm also in charge of education in the SADC Truck Drivers Association of Zambia. And I'm also working as the head of driver training in my company where I work for. So have a blessed, wonderful time. This is your host, Instructor Dennis Bwembya, author. Thank you.